Good morning. Hey, I want to spend a little bit of time this morning talking about rates. I want to give you some ideas to think about. We are all about learning from each other, hopefully. So, hopefully, some of these ideas will resonate with you. One of the challenges that we have as providers is figuring out what we need to charge, what we can charge, in reference to what our parents can pay, in reference to what our neighboring facilities, childcare centers are charging as well. One of the philosophies I've always had is I want to make sure that my rates are reflecting or are reflective of the value that I believe that our families and children are receiving from our center. One of the factors of rates is whether or not centers provide food or they have parents bring in meals and sack lunches. And I found that rate fluctuation could be anywhere from a couple dollars to $5 difference in maybe the same center, whether they charged for meals or included meals in their tuition or parents brought it in. So that's always something to consider. When you're looking at your neighboring facility, it's apples and oranges if you're providing lunch, hot meals, 3 a day, or breakfast, lunch, and snack, and they're having parents bring in a sack lunch. Your rates, you've got to factor that in and that convenience and service that you're providing for your families. Here's really what I want to get to, which is something that I think two main elements that have really been beneficial in our rate structure. The first one is being able to provide a discount for parents that have set up ACH with a checking account with us. And we do that through Tuition Express. All childcare software is going to have some kind of merchant services. And so this is the merchant services for ProCare, Tuition Express. And I've been very hesitant for the first 11 years running our business to set this up because I was always put off by what I felt were the enormous costs associated with processing automatic payments and credit card payments. And so what I've done is I've created, and the second thing is creating that discount. So let's look at our 1-year-old rates here. So for 12 to 24 months, full-time kiddos, we charge $43 a day. That is our standard rate. On the right column, we have a discount for ACH via checking account, and that's checking account only. So this is true of most all of our rates, all except for transportation here at the bottom. We give a $1 discount for families that set up their tuition collection on ACH via checking or savings account. That incentivizes parents tremendously. In our policies, we say that this is required, that all families are required to set up an automatic payment system. And the reason why we give a $1 discount is because it's large enough. It's also approximately 3% of this rate over here, the 43. When I'm done, this is going to make sense, I think, because what I wanted to avoid with the Tuition Express is parents paying their childcare bill with a credit card. Let's say they have a $1,000 balance. Maybe they have 2 kids. They hand me that Cabela's credit card or a Air Miles credit card. I may be paying 2.9% fee or rounded up to a 3% fee on that credit card. So that $1,000 of childcare that I've got to process, it's costing me $30 or maybe a full day worth of care. That is one of the things I always wanted to avoid. And if you talk to Tuition Express, all due respect, they have a great support. They're going to tell you, hey, don't worry about that. Just raise your rates to cover those fees. That's what everybody does. Well, I went about this a little bit differently and said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reward those just that give me a checking account, because that same $1,000 to process with a checking account, I believe the rate right now per transaction is 38 cents. So now, instead of that Cabela's credit card, if I have their checking account on file, it's going to cost me 38 cents to process that same $1,000 out of their checking account versus the $30 that it would cost me to charge their credit card. You got me? And so that is the key, has been the key for me to be able to pay for the ACH fees and avoid the cost of credit cards. So a family that sets up the Tuition Express on a credit card is going to pay the $43 fee. They're not going to get the $1 a day discount. Okay, so 20 days in a month, there's an extra 20 days times 2 kiddos, an extra $40. That $30 is going to be recaptured by charging them that $43 rate. Okay, so I'm only giving a discount for ACH via checking account. That means if you're paying with cash, check, or credit card via ACH credit card, or you just hand it to me, you're going to be charged the $43 daily rate. And you might think, boy, you're brutal charging them extra for cash and check. I do have to go to the bank. That cash and checks have to go through staff members' hands. There's a little bit extra risk and liability, but this also enables me not to be a collection agent. I spent over a decade being a collection agent, trying to run down childcare parents to try to get them to mail me a check. And now I can take a credit card over the phone. I can make payments. And that's the second or maybe the third caveat of this, is that I can use the Tuition Express as a collection process. Let's say a parent moves from New Jersey and leaves me with a $500 bill. It's difficult to get them to write you that check, isn't it? However, if you can say, listen, how about $50 a month? Can you handle that? They say, oh yeah, okay. What day of the month do you want it pulled? I can pull it on the 1st, the 15th, the 20th. They go, how about the 20th? So you just set that up to run on the 20th for the next 10 months, and it'll be automated for you, and you can recapture that $500. So the collection element of this is pretty fantastic as well. So maybe the last thing I want to point out is the $42 a day is truly the rate that I need to get from all my families. So I'm not discounting the rate I need by $1. I'm upping my rates an extra $1, say to 43, so that after that discount, I get 42 a day, which is going to be my, kind of the current market rate, the rate I feel that I need to charge and receive for a 1-year-old. All right. So I hope this is a little bit helpful to you. I can say that about 95% of our families are all on ACH via checking account. And maybe a fourth little hint for you as well. We have multiple billing cycles. So it's a way for me to follow a parent's paycheck. So they can pay weekly, they can pay bi-weekly, they can pay monthly, either on the 1st or the 15th. So I have roughly 3/4 different billing cycles and 3 to 4 different payment cycles. Because I'm pulling the money out of their checking account, I want to have the ability to be able to follow their check. So if their check comes this Friday and they get paid bi-weekly, this Friday I'm going to pull tuition for the next 2 weeks, always paying in advance. But what if they get paid the following Friday and they want to pay 2 weeks? So you've got to have a tracking method, and I could cover that in a different presentation, that follows their paycheck. If they get paid on the 1st, I want to be able to grab tuition for the entire month on the 1st. If they get paid the 1st and 15th and they want to pull it out of their check on the 15th, I have the ability to do that. And I'll bill them from the 15th of this month to the 15th of that month and pull it. Again, you might go, boy, that sounds complicated. I don't know. I've been doing it for 15 years. Sounds pretty simple now, but setting up those billing cycles, it's just a little bit of organization. And instead of billing out, 100 households at once, it does allow me to break it up in different groups, whether they're weekly or monthly due on the 15th. So a little bit of creativity, a little bit of flexibility. And again, one of the biggest keys has been this incentive to get parents. How do you get them onto ACH via checking? And it's not a hard sell these days. Most families are like, oh, that's great. I don't have to write you a check. Keep in mind, childcare is typically the only check anybody ever writes these days. Everything else is automated or through bill pay, that type of stuff. So maybe lastly, remember you always do have the ability to make exceptions and so forth. Here's a quick one for you. How many grandparents now are raising little ones? And maybe they're old school. Maybe they just don't do the ACH thing. They don't like giving out their checking account for someone to have control to debit for. So if you have a sensitive or a situation like that, make the exception. You can give them this rate and they're going to write you a check because of their circumstance. If it's a CCAP family, someone on child care assistance, and they have parental fees and other fees, I set them up whether they give me a credit card or a checking account to withdraw their parental fees on the first of the month. There's no service fee, no upcharge for them because also they're not on this private pay schedule of 42, 38, 35, and so forth, right? They have parental fees and they may have some incidentals on top of that. So you can always customize some of this to meet some of the needs of your specific families as well. So anyway, I hope that's a little bit helpful for you. I hope you have a marvelous day, and I hope you continue to look for ways to save yourself time and money in your business. Have a terrific day. Thanks, everyone.